podcast where we share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True Sky Astrology? Because when we align with the true sky, we align with our true self. We are your hosts, Janine and Sachi. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today live or on the replay. Share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True...
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Mercury retrograde, y'all. Howdy,
Thank you for the feedback.
Yes, literally.
So yeah.
I thought the volume was off, but apparently I was not correct on that.
Sneaky volume.
Woo.
Well, regardless, thanks everybody for showing up. And if apparently there's a twin. Hello, me.
Yeah.
So funny. So welcome everybody to the Libra episode. We're going to talk all things Libra.
Mm-hmm.
And our favorite sign.
It's true. If y'all didn't know, Janine and I are both Libras. So this should be a wonderful conversation between two lovely Libras.
Yes, we know it from the inside out with this archetype.
That's true.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of an energy gauge. How is everybody feeling in this eclipse portal? Let us know in the chat and the comments how this is, how it's working for you. I'll let you know. It feels like kind of getting hit with a ton of bricks. It's definitely super intense. I also live in the path of totality. So I'm like, right front and center for the most intense energy that's upcoming. So this one's been a doozy.
Yeah, you can feel it creeping. Creeping.
Mm-hmm.
I live pretty close to totality, but I am going to be traveling like more smack in. I'm going to Texas, so
mm-hmm. You're going to.
I could stay here and get a pretty good show, but yeah, I'm going to travel for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I am feeling it like this eclipse. It was really when Mercury went retrograde on the 1st of April was like, all right, I feel the lead. And it was just slow down, do less, do more. I had to do more physical stuff because it's literally like my brain was like, nope, my brain's taking a vacation for a couple weeks. And I just kind of rolled with it. Like, okay.
Yeah, for me, it was, I had all this energy to do all these different things because I'm having solar plexus activations, but I was basically told like, no, go lay in bed, relax, minimalistically leave the house. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm just sort of hermit moding, which is very much Virgo, the first eclipse that we just had. And making sure, again, that my daily actions align with the spiritual alignment. And that's the thing, is I could be doing all these things that I quote unquote want to do, but if they're energetically and spiritually out of alignment, it would be causing some, chaos in my life. So
yeah,
just staying home, not doing much, well, it's not that not doing much, doing tons of cleaning, doing tons of reorganizing, and lots of home stuff.
Homey stuff. Yeah, that lunar eclipse in Virgo was really like, let's clean the closet out, like spiritually and literally.
Yeah. Cleaning out the closet.
I've been feeling it. Like I can tell through these 2 weeks between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, there is so much shadow work. I'm literally cleaning house on the inside. It's like every night the dreams are like, hey, here's a shadow pocket. Here's a shadow. Look at this. You're changing this. You're doing that. New timelines can now enter. And I really feel like with one of the dreams I had, it's like, oh, I'm getting a lot of Lyran calibrations because I just cleared something so major. So it has been very tiring. Like I find that I get tired all the time. And I mean, that's everybody's cue to just rest if you're doing that kind of defrag work. So a lot of us are. If you're like alchemists or recoders or timeline workers through eclipse portals, you will be especially working overtime.
Oh, yeah. I've been sleeping like 10 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
The whole eclipse portal. Just like, that's what my body wants to do. That's what my body's going to get.
And sometimes for people, it can be like restless sometimes it can be really hard to sleep. I chat with a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, my sleep is like non-existent. And that can be your clue that there's probably things in your energy system that need to be addressed. Because if it's not letting you rest, then go figure out what it is, right? Go do some emotion code, do some body code, do some inner work.
That's what was happening to me. It was near the first eclipse. There was one night I could not fall asleep. Of course, after I fell asleep, I slept for like 12 hours, but I was having such a hard time falling asleep. I had intense headaches, which I usually don't get headaches for any reason. And so I knew that there was some like third eye crown stuff going on, but once I was like, okay, and my mind just kept racing, racing, racing. And I was realizing it was all these memories of injustices. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going through injustice wounding and some humiliation wounding. So it was getting so, so deep. And obviously it was also tied to some of my solar plexus stuff that's going on. So yeah, super deep work, super deep shadows. And I know in the chat, VA said that they're tired, crazy dreams, melodies, talking about being sleepy and like slowing down with random spurts of energy. And I feel the exact same way. The astral realm has been nutso.
On fire.
Like, yeah. I've been visited by a lot of different things, people and beings and things like that. And the amount of messages that are just so stark is just, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, there's been a lot of curse clearing, like bloodline, ancestral curse clearing stuff for this lineage that I currently reside within on Earth. And it has been really intense and wild. Like, it's like the body's reorganizing all day, and at night I'm out doing astral cleanup work all night. So it's cool, but you have to give yourself the space and grace during the day to just be like, that's it. It's time to rest, and just be able to stop what you're doing and relax for as long as you feel like you need to. Or if it's like, that's it at 7 p.m. and I'm out, I'm going to bed, just go to bed. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Call it a day. Because we're realigning things to go into this new solar cycle with the solar eclipse. So, and it really is pulling strongly on the US because that's where it's breezing right across from coast to coast.
Yep. That's where the action's at.
That's right. So yeah, everybody give yourself lots of ample rest time and be easy on yourself. Rework things. That's the key with retrograde anything, but especially Mercury, is like have multiple options. Like, don't be hard and fast. We got to go do this way. Just be like, no, we're reworking it. We're reworking it. If something's not working out in this direction, redirect. Be like, okay, well, let's pivot, or stop. Right?
Yep, exactly. Because if something's out of alignment, your soul will scream, of like, don't do that. Like, no, let's go lay down, So it's really important to be listening to that voice when it's, telling you what to do and not do.
Yeah. Junie Pepper, I love that name. Junie Pepper says having resting difficulties, and that can happen too. We were definitely bringing that up. It can be the lack of sleep that's the problem. Intense dreams also, yes. Lunar cycle has also been letting me know it's there.
Yep.
Yeah, and definitely. Melody says dreams have been off the hook. Same. Yep. So go to my Instagram feed and reread the how to navigate 9 tips for like navigating a Pisces power portal, because that is basically what this eclipse is a Pisces activation.
Yes.
And North Node. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were coming from, the lunar eclipse. And I have to say, I think both lunar eclipses, the next full moon, the next full moon, not the lunar eclipse or solar eclipse.
Next full moon, which will be in
the next full moon. Both of them are I think,
I believe so.
trine to Pluto.
Yes.
They're both Virgo. They're both slight lunar eclipses. So the one we had was more powerful. The one that we will be having in about 2 weeks and some change is going to be about 10 degrees from the south node. So it's going to be an echo of the lunar eclipse from 2 weeks ago. So it's like, you didn't get it on the first round. Guess what? You get another chance.
Yep. Act 2.
Act 2.
Take 2.
Yeah. So we're
But
not
take
done
5,
yet.
y'all.
Just because we get through the solar eclipse doesn't mean that Virgo lunar energy is done with us. We've got
no
another
way.
few weeks. Yeah, another few weeks of,
Or 6 months, really.
like, not with
months.
I don't feel like it's the lunar eclipse that lasts that long. That's like,
Oh yeah,
that's
the
a
solar
full
eclipse,
moon.
yeah.
Yeah. The solar eclipse, yes, but it does feel like we're getting 2 chances to clean out the closet to access angelic templates with the lunar eclipses, so that Pisces solar eclipse can land as cleanly as possible. So, yeah, do what you got to do. Take care of business. Do the Virgo things. Take care of your health. Take care of your routines. And that includes rest.
Yeah, definitely. Doing nothing is doing something. Resting
That's right.
is doing something. Sleeping is doing something. These are all things that are productive, if you need to see it in that way, that frame.
Yeah, Junie Pepper says she's handling this eclipse in retrograde much better than other times. So good. That's great.
Yes, that is good. Congrats.
Yeah, good. Once you learn how to flow with the celestial energies, it does make life a lot easier, doesn't it?
That's true. And we have some tools to flow with the celestial energies. So a little update on the planner and the calendar. So everyone who has already purchased the entire 2024 daily planner has received their April PDF in their email. If you have not received it, go ahead, check your spam or reach out to us via email or on Instagram. And just a reminder that it is the email that you purchased the PDF with. So that's where it will go. And the April only PDF is also now available. So if you go to sachitheseer.com, now I have a little place at the top that says True Sky Astrology Tools. So you could just go there, True Sky Astrology Tools, and it's all here. You can get the whole year, the wall calendar, or the PDF calendar. And then we have the month by month daily planner available for immediate download, or the calendar pages. So we have the planner through April available, and then all year for the calendar if you are interested in purchasing those. May will be up as soon as we can. So just letting you guys know, like I said, we did finish April because this eclipse is coming and swinging and sort of, not pulling punches for Janine or I or me.
For real, like, my brain just shut down on the first, and I was like, I'm sorry, Sachi. I'm like, give me a couple weeks and I'll get back to it.
It's no problem, and there's no need to apologize either. And I'm sure all of our listeners and clients are also completely understanding, and they understand how this type of energy works. For me, it's more of my environment that constantly needs tending to in one way or another. And so I'm definitely, releasing these like service contracts is kind of what it feels like. So anyway, Janine and I will be finishing proofreading May and June as soon as we can. It's more of an energetic thing than, us not being committed to it or whatever. So just letting you guys know that will be coming to you as soon as we get it done. There's really not that much to do. It's just the editing. Everything else is already done. But editing takes like about 5 hours.
Yeah, to go
So
through and proofread
per
it.
month.
To
So
proofread 1 month.
just to
So
proofread 1 month,
just to
right?
let
So
y'all
we have
know how
about,
much
yeah, like 10
energy we
hours.
put into it. Yeah.
Yeah, we really go through it with a fine tooth comb. So, thank you all for your patience. Again, we will get you May and June as soon as possible, and then the rest of the year, we will also get to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay ahead of the curve.
We are.
And this being our first year, it's a learning experience for us as well. So
Yeah, because we
we're
decided to do it like
tweaking
a
as we
couple
go.
months
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
2024 started. So
Yeah, we
we
started it in
like,
December.
okay, yeah. So we really like chugged through so much and want to avoid burnout and doing things that are out of alignment by overworking ourselves. I'm sure you all understand.
Yeah.
So thank you all for your patience, and if you have any questions about anything regarding the calendar or planner, feel free to reach out.
Yes. We would be happy to answer any questions. Oh, thank you, Junie Pepper. She says you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's our love, it's our passion, and we're really excited to bring you all the True Sky stuff. But we're human too. So.
Yeah, exactly. We're two lady crew. The two lady crew. The True Sky crew too. And yeah, we're doing as best as we can. And of course, Janine and I also do our own thing as well, apart from the business that we share together. So
yeah.
Just thanks for everyone's patience.
2025 will be a different scenario. Like
we will have 2025 done before 2025 arrives.
Yeah.
And it will be an immediate download, the whole thing, and we won't have to do updates. But I would like to reiterate, which we say every month, if you have any feedback, please let us know.
Please let us know.
Like, hey, it's so awesome. Which that's basically the only feedback we've gotten is like, this is awesome. So if you have any, things that you think could make it better, aesthetically or
anything you would like to see, information you would like to see in there.
Yeah. Anything
we've tried to be thorough. It was like we've tried to put everything in that
thorough.
we would want to see. But if there's something specific that you guys are interested in, definitely let us know. We're looking at ways to make it better for everybody.
Yep. And that's why we made it, is because this is something we want. It doesn't exist, so we must create it.
That's the Libra motto.
That is the Libra motto.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Speaking of Libra, let's talk about our favorite sun sign. True Sky Libra. True Sky Libra is in totality of the sun actually moving through the constellation only 14 days out of a year. Ta-da!
Yes. So one of the smallest of the zodiacs.
November 7th to the 21st is when it enters and exits. So it is a cardinal sign associated with the 7th house and 7th house things. Actually 14 degrees because it spends 14 days and each arc degree is a day basically. So 14 degrees. Libra's 14 degrees. Air element. It is a yang polarity, which is super interesting because Venus is technically a feminine energy. So there is, I think it's also comparable to Virgo energy, how Virgo is mercurial, but it's yin. I feel like Libra is kind of an interesting complement in an opposite kind of way. It's more inherently attractive, like magnetic, but it's also electric because it's got this yang polarity. So I feel like both Virgo and Libra can really do a lot of polarity balancing work, just in kind of opposite ways. Yeah. Totally and ruled by Venus, so inherently a creative sign. It is like the intellectual creative.
Yes.
Very quick-witted and clever, and think it's like a problem solving, almost like that's the nature of how do I create balance. It's like you're trying to resolve the conflict of why things don't work. And necessity
Why
is the
things are
mother of
out of
invention.
balance. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like data input equals data output
yeah.
in order to
And
have
how can I
the zero
spin it?
sum.
Like, in what way can I be creative with it? Because I do feel like there's a huge creative streak in Libras, and it doesn't necessarily mean art and painting, although it can. It's more like linguistics and creative writing and haikus and poems. It can also be art. It can be, I feel like light language is very attributed to, like, Libras can really bring through light language as well. So it's fascinating combination of energies. It does lend itself, like, women that, and I speak from experience, and I don't know how you feel, but we'll find out, Sachi. I feel like women Libras tend to be very balanced with their masculine energy. It's like they're kind of
For sure.
masculine feminines because
We
they're
both
seeking to
also
balance
have
that.
we both have first house Mars. So that might have
Yeah.
a little something to do with like helping us in terms of our masculine energy. But thinking of some other true sky Libras, it might not be the case. But if you are Martian heavy with this kind of Venus energy, I would say totally.
Yeah.
It's probably because it's a yang polarity. So that
That's what
masculine
I'm thinking.
energy,
Yeah.
is
Is like they
naturally
tend
balancing it
to,
with Venus.
yeah, it tends to make them a little more bold, I feel like. And that is where the sociability aspect comes in, because everybody thinks of Libras as like, oh, the social butterflies, which isn't necessarily true. They're not necessarily social butterflies, but they're very friendly and gregarious when they engage, but it doesn't necessarily mean they enjoy socializing. It
That's true.
can, but I think that's the masculine component that's like, yes, I will engage with you in this lovely Venusian way, and I will also know how to, like, exit gracefully as well, kind of thing. Like, they just know how to get in and get out, do the thing. And if they are inclined to be sociable, then they have huge charisma, like just lovely energy to engage with. So can be very good speakers. Yeah, can be very great speakers. Like, if they're good at the social aspect, they can be very good public speakers.
I would agree with that. Great linguists in general, whether it's writing or speaking or playing around with words.
Yeah. I tend to be more of the nerdy librarian, like more introverted. Like, I like the libraries, the books. I like to be nested away in lots of literature and stuff like that, but not so much called to the public speaking.
I like the
Yeah, I like the
speaking.
Do you? Do you?
Yeah, I do. I don't always seek it out, but when I have done it through school, academics, work, and then teaching my own courses and things like that, it's always been a very pleasant experience where I feel like super like energized,
jazzed
after,
up.
like, whoa.
Yeah, I definitely feel more introvert. Like, I like collecting and I like compilations of things. Like, I don't get one crystal. I want one of every I want a library of crystals.
Well, yeah.
I want a library of books. I want a library of, I have to say, with the Libra stuff, I am a sucker for fashion. That's true.
Me too.
That stereotype of Libra is true. We do
for
love,
sure.
We do love the outward appearances, and it's like, I want one of every color. I want one of every one of these t-shirts.
Yes.
I gotta have the library.
Yes. Yeah. I'm the same way. I have an amazing shoe collection, an amazing
I was gonna say,
closet.
We both have that in common.
Yes, my heels, like, oh, I get compliments on them every day. At least now when I go out. Back when I was in more of the corporate world, obviously, constantly being commented on. But yeah, even like sunglasses, multiple colors. My closet is literally arranged in color order.
Color coordinated.
Yeah. It just makes sense. It's like, yeah, what color do I want to wear today? That's how I'm gonna pick my aesthetic. And it's because Libra rules outside beauty, right? The physical aesthetic, which when we get into Scorpius, which is the next sign that we'll do in approximately 5 weeks, 6 weeks, That, you know, Scorpio is all about going deep and like how deep does it get? But Libra is completely the opposite. It's like sometimes it really does matter what's on the surface. You can judge a book by its cover to an extent. That's how you make a judgment, is when you are
Yeah.
seeing something and it's the external data that you take from your electrical system, basically. And it's like, okay, what does it look like? What is it, you know, XYZ? And then you're taking that data in on one side of the scales and then balancing it out with some sort of conclusion of like, okay, what is this? Do I like it? And so that's why Libra is known as the sign of beauty. It's all about surface
The
level,
outward expression of
yes,
it. Yeah.
surface level beauty and aesthetic. So that's why Libra rules over things like architecture, and that also goes into sort of structural aspect of Libra and the intellectual aspect, but also interior design, and as Janine said, like art and things like that. But also can rule things like being a beautician, you know, nail tech, hair tech, all those sorts of things. Very,
Yeah.
very Libran. Anything that beautifies things on the outside or facades them, even in a way, which kind of ties
Mm-hmm.
the mercurial Gemini aspect of just like air emanations, I guess I would say.
Yeah. The air energy, the intellectual,
Mhm.
observable things. I think
Yes.
that's a real, an interesting way to think about the yang polarity in Venus, is like the outward expression of beauty, right? Because the yang is like the
Mm.
thing outside,
Yes. The
or the
physicality.
doing. Yeah, the
Right.
physicality,
The
how it
physical,
expresses on the
the
outside.
doing, yes, how it
Mm-hmm.
materializes is a yang expression. And that's why Libra rules one-on-one partnerships as well, because your own balance of yin and yang, or what some call feminine masculine energy, the balance that you have within, when you project it outward to the universe, it's going to reflect it back in another person. This can be a romantic partnership or platonic, right? It's just one-on-one relationships in any setting. And so that is how that the holographic nature of the universe works when it comes to Libra energy. Because if y'all remember back in Gemini, that's about your own internal yin and yang. That's the
Right.
left hemisphere of your brain and sort of doing that internal. And Libra is the next air emanation, which is, okay, how does that work as an expression of the other? And then when we get to Aquarius, that's like groups of three or more. Won't get ahead of ourselves, but air energy is so interesting for that fact, because a lot of it has to do with this polarity balancing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
data. It's all data balancing within.
Yeah, I feel like Libra is one of the signs. It's like a built-in Taurus field. Like it is set up to cycle energy, positive, negative, at like a toroid. So there, Libra energy, if you're born with a placement in Libra, whether it's your sun or any planet, like you're set up to create harmonic balance in your field through that planet. So when it's your sun, it's like you're doing soul aligned balancing work, right? You're bringing all the polarities together because that yang energy wants to spin it out, and Venus keeps magnetizing it back
Mm-hmm.
until you've refined it enough, like you've seen it enough times where you're like, you're just going through this process of refining through the details, and then it all harmonizes. So your field is just like this glorious, you know, toroid of energy.
Exactly.
Your aura, basically. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're refining your aura in this lifetime.
And that's the Venusian connection with Taurus as well. So it's funny, it's like the
Yeah,
Taurus,
yeah,
which is the
exactly.
energy field.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, how Libra like takes in the data from the external world, that's what the Taurus side of Venus rules, is the relationship with the five senses and how the body experiences that data. Libra is, okay, the data in, now output is what? It's
Yeah.
it's materializing in the external environment as a partner, as a coworker, as a parent or whatever it may be. And that's just like Janine said, it's like Venus is magnetizing this stuff to you. It's materializing in a yang way. It's taking physical form. And if you don't like it, you have to change the way that you're magnetizing. You have to change your
That's your clue.
energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Venus, any planet in Venus, like whatever you're working on with that planet kind of thing, depends on the planet. If you don't like what you're magnetizing to yourself, that is your clue with Libra energy, because everything is a reflection to a Libra.
Yes.
Everything is like, oh, okay, I understand. And you have to almost get really good at navigating symbology. And I think this is where Libras really shine, like metaphysical symbols, dream symbolism, just imagery as language.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you have to understand how the whole matrix is talking to you, because it basically does when you're a Libra. It's like, if it's in your energy, it's going to show up, it's going to cross your path, and you get to make choices at how you address it. And that's kind of the point, is because you have you have a lot of opportunities to create balance with things. So if sometimes you go through a phase, say if like Sun is transiting Libra, like everybody gets a little more magnetic like that. And it's like, oh, stuff shows up as a reflection of your own energy. And guess what? You get to learn how to spiritually ninja that stuff.
Yep.
Walking meditation. And that just means in your everyday to day moment that you're just moving through life, you are aware in the present moment. So you really do learn this skill of just like being woke every moment of your day. You're aware of everything in the present moment. You're not living in the future. You're not living in the past. You're like, I'm right here. And I just saw that. And I get it. Thank you, universe.
That it's like really struck something in me. It's like, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah. Because I've had moments where like I've connected to my higher self, and it really amped up that magnetic capacity, and the synchronicity was terrifying. Like it was at grueling speed. If you've ever played that Wagon Train from like the 80s, we were on the grueling mode, and it was just like I had to learn how to navigate it and understand that it was only reflecting my own energy and not to project onto it, and not to assign fault or blame outside myself, but just go, there's a reason why this is showing up. What's that reason? And like dig in and find it within. And as soon as I made an internal adjustment, it was like somebody would let off an accelerator pedal, and it'd just be like, oh, thank goodness. Like I could feel it internally. It was really wild. So I don't think everybody's experience with it is that extreme. For me, it was like a very intense higher self calibration period of time. But you know, it'll amp up during transits when certain planets are transiting that stuff. And I think when Sun and Venus and transits Libra, like it's really interesting. I think the whole generation of Pluto and Libra is really interesting.
Yeah.
Probably Uranus and Libra is super fascinating too, because I bet there's some really people that are really calibrated to just transit codes through their body, like on autopilot, with Uranus going through Libra. So it's fun. That's a funny placement, because like Uranus wants to unbalance everything and make you look at everything different, and Libra is like, oh no, you don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what you think, buddy. So yeah, good times. Very interesting combo of masculine, feminine energy there. That polarity.
Definitely. You want me to pull up the symbols?
You ready?
And...
Yeah, just whatever slide you got ready next. Let's just go to the next slide.
Alrighty.
Here we go. And we can probably add to these symbols. Like I just threw a few on there. The scales, obvious. That's an obvious Libra symbol.
Yes.
I feel like the sword is also a Libra symbol, because I had a friend of mine and I that we talked about this at length at one point. And she was like, well, when you break it down to it, it's an anagram for words. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right.
Oh yeah,
like,
S
and
word.
that's so Libra. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The S word. Okay. That
Mm-hmm.
there's a Libra meme in there somewhere.
Yes, there is.
The S word.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the Justice card in Tarot in the Major Arcana, Justice is ruled by Libra, and Libra holds the scales and the sword,
Yeah.
and or the angel in that, I should say, or the being, the human. Um, and that goes to show that sometimes justice can be cutting, right? So if we
Mm-hmm.
think back to the olden days, where if you stole something, you might get your hand cut off or something. Obviously, that is an extreme situation. You should not get your hand cut off for any reason. But justice can be cruel sometimes, depending on what you've done, right? If you've done something horrible, you can expect something horrible to happen to you. There's a lot of karmic balance that happens through Libra.
Yeah. It can feel like backlash, but
Mm-hmm.
it's with Libra, you have to remember it's like it's just if it's coming to me, it's somewhere in my energy. That program is somewhere in the energy. Or if you made the decision to do the thing and there's a penalty kind of thing. I don't know, there's a whole society overlay in there with there's another storyline in there, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in olden days that was
Yeah.
justice, right? An eye for an eye was justice. It's a little different now, but not a whole lot. We've evolved a
But
little bit.
it's more that divine balance is always at play, even if we don't see it. So beyond how Libra emanates through us, the grander macroscopic version of what we may be microcosmically experiencing, on the grander scale, there is divine balance. And so sometimes people question, like, why is this happening to this person? It's like, well, maybe you don't know what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't know
And
what they've
maybe it's
done
not
this
from this
lifetime,
lifetime.
right? Or
Yeah.
another lifetime.
Yeah.
And that is, it's just part of the divine balance.
Yeah.
Energy in, energy out, data in, data out. And with the swords, of course, Libra is also denoted as the queen and king of swords as well. Swords being the air element.
Yeah. The tool that can slice through air kind of thing. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's also associated with books, libraries like knowledge, scrolls. Definitely, I think was the original form that would probably be associated with Libra. And if you extrapolate that out, I feel like the Akashic is also associated with Libra.
I could see that. And that would
Yeah.
even make more sense for sword energy too, because there's the ability to cut ties with certain timelines.
Yeah. Yeah, because the sword is really a timeline reference, like the full length sword. More of a knife or a dagger is more of like core personal karmic energy stuff. But swords is definitely a timeline worker. Clearing because Libra energy, everything is available to them to resolve in the current lifetime. That's the power of Libra with the sword, right? Is like I can cut off timelines that are not in the highest and best alignment. We can just clear that right out of the field. So timeline workers, I feel like, are definitely Libras. And if they're not direct, like with the Akashic stuff, if they don't have direct access, they may be more like guardians of the Akashic, where it's like you don't have your library card, you can't come in.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
You can't access this info.
Yeah.
Give me the right password. Again,
Yeah.
it's just like words.
Yep. Yep. So it's an interesting spiral up with Libra energy. They can go all the way back to their original emanations.
Yes.
That is the goal of a planet or a luminary being parked there. So it wants to create balance in that area. But you know, on the way, you do have to sort of understand your Akashic. You have to understand past lives. You have to understand timelines to do that clearing work. So
Exactly.
probably also very associated with like energy workers, or maybe not doing the energy work, but you become very adept at your own energy field and um, navigating your own energies, because it does feel like an internal thing. But I feel like they could be also very adept at helping others manage their energy fields.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe teaching them how to do it, but not doing it for them.
I feel like Libras help get rid of the density to make things more light. So when things are super unbalanced on one side, let's say like the shadows bogging you down, Libra energy can bring more light in order to bring that balance. Or if you're, you know, on the woo woo, oh, rainbows and sunshine and sparkles, love and light, and, you know, spiritually bypassing, Libra can bring that shadow in, cut through that to bring more balance into the situation. But from my
Yeah.
experience, you know, coming from tropical Scorpio energy, which just felt like I kind of lived in a deep, dark bog most of my life, discovering that I was a true sky Libra literally felt like I finally reached the surface and aired out, and now I can fly. Like
Yeah,
it
like
is such a
liberation.
lighter, yes, it's such a lighter feeling. I don't feel like I have to hold on to anything, emotions, experiences, memories, or anything like that. So really embodying Libra energy has been the most transformative experience of my life, obviously.
Yeah.
But the aspect of lightness really rings true for me for Libra. And especially if we consider the scales. Originally, the scales were used for balancing things, money exchanging, and that's why for pounds we still use LB, which is short for Libra.
Yep.
And so there's something that has to do with weight with Libra as well. And again, it's like there's something about Libra that can bring it back to sort of a zero sum. If something's
Yeah,
too
exactly.
intense, it can bring lightness. If you're not doing enough work to do whatever it is, it's like you cut cords with whatever's holding you up so that you can sort of fall down into the depths.
Yeah. And I think also the Libra is associated with Ma'at, the Egyptian
Mm-hmm.
deity with the
Right.
outspread wings.
Forever.
Yeah. So she was the keeper of like truth and balance, order, harmony, the law, right?
Yes,
And I know I've heard you mention this before, like it's
so much.
associated with legal things.
Yes, it
And
is.
yeah, I think the play out and the construct matrix level stuff right now is law, but it's law with a capital LAW, like universal law. Libra is here to bring universal law.
Exactly. And that's again energy input, energy output.
Exactly. It's
And
harmonics. Yeah, it's
exactly.
harmonics.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's manifested of what we know as the legal system currently. But that goes back into the writing and the literary and the librarian aspect of Libra because they tend to be very sort of high Latinate in their language. And that's part of the contractual aspect of Libra. So because it rules legal stuff, that's where the prose comes in. And I always say that legal language is just sneaky poetry. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
I've always loved legal stuff since I was a little girl. I've always been interested in it. I can read like hundreds of pages of legal jargon. I can comprehend it all. And, you know, if there's a little something I get snagged on, I can do a quick search, read about it for, 20, 30 minutes, figure it out. And it's just like poetry. I'm just like, wow, they snuck that in there. Holy moly.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
this is
clever.
incredible.
That's
Um,
got to be your Pluto conjunct your sun
yeah.
aspect to like, let's
And
get into all
I
the nuts,
love it.
the nitty gritty, and all the pockets where you're
Yeah.
hiding all the catches. And yeah,
Uh-huh.
being so adept at finding all the shenanigans
That's
in
why
the legal framework.
I didn't have a smart device until my like late early to mid 20s is
Yeah.
because when I saw that you had, reading all that stuff, I'm like, I'm not reading all of these things to use these apps or whatever. I'm good with my dumb phone. It was literally because I just didn't want to go through the legal stuff. And when I did read it, I'm like, I'm not agreeing to this. This is
Yeah,
so
exactly.
invasive. This is so terrible. But then I got to a timeline where there wouldn't be negative repercussions, so it was fine. But definitely part of
Mm-hmm.
the legal world and rules over the legal world. And that's part
Yeah.
of, again, the scales of sword. It's the aspect of justice, of what is just. And with the phrase I balance, and that's the key thing, is that Libra energy is always going to bring things to a balance. This does not mean that things are equal. It means that they are fair and just. And
Yeah.
so an example that I always like to use is if you and someone get a candy bar together and you decide to split it, and that person splits it, and you notice that they take 2/3 and you take a third, and then the next day you do the same thing, to be fair, right? Your instinct is to cut it in half. But no, actually you take 2/3 and they get 1/3. That would be more of the equitable aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so you have to think of justice in a grander scheme of like every single candy bar you've eaten in your
Yeah.
life. But obviously extrapolate that out to other things, energy management, um, just like acts of service, or again, it's like what you put out into the universe, you're gonna get
How
back.
you're engaging with others
Yes.
energetically, like how much involvement, how much of your energy you involve in that relationship or partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we get to a few slides down, like we'll probably be able to go further in with that because there can be some energy management issues with Libras for sure.
For sure.
And I love the idea of I balance as like bigger picture balance.
Yes.
Like we're bringing the capital LAW back into balance here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about energy field management. So that does play into, how Libras relate with others. But I also want to mention with this phrase, everybody thinks Libra is like this easy peasy Venusian sign. Libra is a lot of work. Libra is not, hey, everything's magically balanced. Libra is, I am creating this balance. My
Mm-hmm.
work is to balance. It means you have to do it. It's like learning to
Yes.
ride a bicycle. It's the bicycle just isn't going to be like, oh, hey, hang on, let's go. No, you got to spend all that time learning to find your center of gravity and how to move forward at the same time and how to turn, how to stop. You got to do all the work. You're here to do that work. So I always like to reiterate that in client sessions for people who have Libra placements. It's like, doesn't mean that it's easy. It means this is actually where you're doing double work because the thing is coming to you, you're magnetizing it to you. Then you have to do the yang thing that is in alignment. You have to take aligned action. It's built into the energy of Libra.
Exactly.
Because you're here to reconcile karma, basically.
That's right. With the sword
So
and the scales
that's
in your
right.
hand.
Yep. And that means you got to do the thing. But the good news is Venus and Libra makes it feel like the absolute best thing in the world to do that. And you're just like, well, of course I would do that. So you do it with a smile on your face, but it does mean
Exactly.
you have to make the effort to do the thing. So
Yeah.
very interesting sign.
Yeah, and that's why Libras typically end up in situations where things are so imbalanced,
That's
especially
right.
younger or before like most of the karmic cleanup work has been completed, because it's your job to do that.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
brings us to the body areas: skin,
yeah.
kidneys, lower back, like lower thoracic vertebrae to the lumbar. Kidneys energetically are really tied to the ancestors. So Libra, like you said, you can be born into a family and the Libra is literally the black sheep because they're like, I don't want anything to do with what y'all are doing. I don't feel aligned with doing it because they're here to do cleanup work, right? So sometimes if you feel like you're out of balance in your own family situation, just look at the sky and see if you're a Libra and you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm here doing. And it could be in your current incarnation, or it could be because the kidneys are also, I feel like, tied to things karmically um either way, it's just a lot of karma
For
cleanup
sure.
work.
It's a
So yeah.
filtration system. And so obviously the kidneys need, it's like the stuff that, you know, goes in and the stuff that comes out.
Yeah.
Different blockages there.
And kidney and bladder emotions, because bladder is paired
Yeah.
with kidney in acupuncture, it holds some really, really hard emotions like fear programs. And like I said, the fear can be ancestors, it can be coming through your bloodline. It can be things like shock and trauma and things that just set up a lot of dissonance in your electrical system. So that's a lot of times what Libras are calibrating through, and they really need a pat on the back from their family members. They don't usually get it because the family doesn't often understand what they're working on or what they're, holding space for the family energetically in that way that they're doing that cleanup work. So hug your Libra friends.
Yeah, please.
We do need hugs.
Yes, we do, and we love them. We'll hug you right back.
Yes.
What hug you give, you get.
Some of the best hugs you'll ever get are from Libras.
That's true.
Or probably Tauruses, because they're also Venus people.
Yeah, I feel like Cancerians also.
Yeah, they probably give pretty good hugs too.
Cushiony bosom with it.
Yeah. A nice soft mom hug.
Exactly. Yeah. And I forgot to mention with skin, I for some reason I thought kidneys was liver, because the skin obviously surface level energy in all ways, and the skin is also a filtration system, and the skin and liver act energetically in conjunction with each other. So I would put liver up here, because anything that the liver does not process internally, the skin will do externally. So usually when you have a lot of skin problems, if you do liver detoxes and clean up your liver, the skin issues will go away. And a lot of that has to do with, like, again, it's the aspect of interior versus exterior. And the skin is the only, it's the biggest organ of the body, of course, but it's the only body that is, or organ, or whatever it is, that does internal and external, is constantly interacting with internal and external.
Yes. It's that mediator. Yeah. The thing that is so Libra, like, it's inside, but it's also outside. It's the thing that everybody sees. Well, if you're naked, they do.
Yeah. Exactly. And that also goes to the, Venusian sexual attractiveness of Libra as well, which we haven't really discussed, but Libra is the sign of, physical beauty. So there is a lot of attractiveness that comes with the Libra aspect as well.
I feel like you might be able to put the lymphatic system in this body area too with Libra, because the lymphatics run through the skin and the fascia networks, and the kidneys filter the bladder. Bladder kidneys filter all that lymphatic fluid. So I think lymphatics could go here.
Like Pisces, because its major role is to get, like, detoxify and get out anything that isn't meant to be there.
Yeah, it's why it could be shared. It could be shared by both. Could be shared by both.
I agree. I feel like Libras and Pisces are both good at sharing too.
We'll share with
Pisces. A candy bar in the middle. They will. And it's so funny because, like, in my life, I've always been like, if I'm sharing something with someone, I'm always like, okay, I need to get this perfectly 50-50. Or it's always been so important for me to segment things properly. And once I discovered I was a true Libra, I'm like, oh my God, that's why. That's why I am, like, obsessed with it. Like, anytime I have a task of doing something like that, I really meticulously, like, zoom in on it. And that makes sense.
Yeah. Like you, I was also a tropical Scorpio, and then found out I was a Libra. And it took me a while to make the jump, but once I connected the dots, it was the element of air that was the aha moment. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a nerdy girl, like getting straight A's. I love books. I love
Me too.
math.
Yep.
I love art. I'm like, oh gosh, I am a Libra. But the thing that gave it away the most is like, I was so in the popularity game in high school. It was like, and it wasn't like I needed to be the homecoming queen or that kind of thing, but it was like I wanted to know people in every different group. It's like I wanted to be friends with every group of people. I wasn't it wasn't like I only want to be friends with the cheerleaders, and it wasn't elitist like that. It was like across the board. Like I knew nerds, I knew jocks, I knew band people, and I liked them all. It was like I just wanted to be friends with everybody. I was like, I'm so a Libra. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like that, but more like I am known by everyone.
Yeah.
That was more of my Libra experience back in the day.
That's an interesting, it's so subtle, but there's a difference. The difference is interesting.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I felt like I had to work at it. And you were just like, everybody knows who I am.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was a double-edged sword in itself, obviously.
Yeah,
I did so much karmic cleanup and reconciliation work before I hit 18. It's like incredible.
Yeah.
Like I went through major death and rebirth during just 14 to 17. Like every year, just completely different. So
yeah, I had a few of those major moments. There was like maybe 2 major turning points, but it was typical teenage drama type things that initiated it. You think it's the end of the world, but it's like, it's okay.
And that's also very Libra to rule sort of the drama.
Yeah, identity crisis, drama. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think this is a good time to pull up this one.
Let's do it.
So we can talk a little bit more about these.
Yes. Okay, archetype, mediator, creative thinker, and some of the other things that we've talked about. Most every archetype will say it's Libra's the judge, and it's like, no, we're not here
but yeah.
But we're not here to make judgment. It's not about, there's being discerning, and then there's being a judge who's making a decision on behalf of other people. Most Libra work, unless you have like 10th, 11th, 12th house 10th, 11th house placements. Well, for you, that'd be 11th, 12th house 11th, placements in your 13 house sign system. But most of Libra's work is honestly internal, unless you have collective type placements. So judgmentalness is actually one of what I consider part of the Libra shadow. It's not to do the judging of anything else. It's to make your own discerning decisions and get your ass in alignment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's judgmental, right? So it's a mental process of judgment. And again, I mean, as I mentioned before, judgment is a natural process, right? It's like data in, data out. How am I coming to a conclusion? When it comes to like prejudice, right? Prejudging something without all the data. I think that's when it's more of the shadow aspect.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't really stop yourself from making judgments or drawing conclusions. I would call those things kind of synonymous.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I have an issue with like the archetype of judge who sits behind a bench with a gavel and he's like, somebody's life is in his hands, and it's really, that's only because people aren't taking responsibility only for themselves, that somebody else has to do that.
Well, so only sometimes. So usually it's the jury that the person's fate would be. I
get that, but then they're all acting like judges. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Still they are
outside judge archetype. Yeah. So it's the archetype that I'm referring to, where it's like somebody else is making a decision for somebody else who's deemed to have done something wrong or whatever. Like there's a fallacy in that, because Libra is really about the internal decisiveness and making choices that are in alignment. So you never land in those situations. Right. Yeah. So those roles never ever have to be created because
And
everybody is
exa-
sovereign and responsible.
that is totally true. And the thing is, it's again, it's a distorted manifestation of
Responsibility, basically. Yeah.
responsibility and justice.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
again, it's
Yes.
like really only God can judge you, right? As the saying goes, only the divine can really do that judgment, and that's the
That's the
scale
funny thing
that
is the
meet you
divine
after
doesn't
death,
judge
right?
anything.
Well,
It's like they're not here. It's
it's
an energetic frequency
responding,
thing.
right?
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
energetic frequency. Once you get into it, you're like, oh, it's my own karma, my own bullshit that's keeping me locked into 3D. Duh. And
right.
then you start doing your own cleanup work, and that's what ascension really is like universe isn't judging you. It's not saying you're bad. You can stay in 3D as long as you want. It's like, that's cool with me. That's where you want to be. Ain't no hate, but for you to move up in dimensions, you have to understand things and make different choices and choose to do the cleanup work.
Right.
You know, it's like that meme of like the little Asian kid with a boot on his head, and then you see it from a different angle, and it's like he's got his own hand in the boot and it's holding his head.
Yes, exactly. It was like
That's Libra.
you when I
Yeah,
found out I was causing my own problems the whole time, or whatever it is.
exactly.
Yeah, that is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And that it just goes to show that, like, even if, for example, if we had no legal system, if people were committing quote unquote crimes, justice would still be served in the divine sense. Again, that's that macroscopic, zoomed out version of divine balance. And so, it's not that we need these legal systems or anything, but the way that they manifest is kind of a weird expression of kind of how it works and how there are a lot of moving parts. The judge, the jury, and sort of all that sort of thing. But the judge in more of a light esteem would be more of the mediator. And it's someone who, again, there's a lot of contract stuff that goes in with Libra. So even if you're thinking of, the community that you live with, in an ideal situation, you all farm together, work together, play together, whatever. And if we were to say, like, we don't, kill people, we don't eat other humans, we don't, whatever rules you create for your group, and Libra would be the ones who sit there as sort of the objective, or as objective as you can be, third party of hearing, right? And it's also interesting because Libra is the only inanimate object of the zodiac for the archetypes,
Yeah.
which is the scale. And so it's like, someone did someone wrong, whatever, right? Or that's what they're trying to say. And going to a third party person that's going to be taking data on one side, data on the other side of two different experiences, and trying to find some
The
sort
middle ground.
yes,
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
again to
that's why
bring
I
things back to homeostatic balance.
yeah, that's why I like the archetype of the mediator or the moderator. It's not a
Mhm.
judge. It's like, how can I help you guys figure out how to get along? Right?
Yeah.
How can we work this out? Not you're going to jail and you're wrong, and maybe I've just seen too many Judge Judy TV shows.
Maybe because it's usually not always like that, right? It's more
Yeah.
like, this is what you did and this is how you remedy it. Okay, you're gonna
Yeah.
serve your community.
It's more like
Okay,
going to
you're gonna
counseling. Yeah.
yeah,
At a higher vibe, it's more like before it becomes a problem, you seek out a third party to figure out how to find a solution to the thing.
yeah.
That'd be the higher vibe.
Yeah. And more so it's in the written terms, the judgment or conclusion would be like, this is all the data of what happened, and this is the conclusion of how to reconcile it.
Yeah.
Whether it's sometimes it's like write a letter of apology, pay a fine, do this, do that. Unfortunately, certain populations are deemed jail sentences completely unfairly for a number of reasons. So our jail systems, I'm sure no one would disagree, are all messed up, especially the for-profit prisons and purposeful recidivism and all of that. Which again is a manifestation or materialization of personal imbalances of injustice/justice. So in order to help these sort of larger scale issues of the legal system, I'm sure everyone knows how corrupt it is as well. You know, if you have a certain amount of money, if you're in a certain social class, you can get away with anything, you know, with a slap on a wrist or a
Yeah,
double that
it's
gets
not about
killed in your place and
it's not
things
about
like
how to
that.
work the system. That's for
Right.
sure. All those
Yeah.
people will go
There's
that route.
always loopholes, right?
Yeah.
And that also goes to things like just general legal stuff, right? There's always loopholes, and your Libra friend will know them if you ever need them.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm so uninterested in the legal system in general. It's like I have Venus conjunct Sun in Libra, so I also have a Libra, of Venus in Libra. And for me, I'm more drawn to like the energetics of things, like energy fields and interacting with like the unified field and like out into the woo woo of the law of one stuff, or just universal law. For me, the laws are like the immutable laws of physics and how we experience things as a functioning human. So the social overlays of laws are interesting to me, but it's never been a source of like something I felt I need to go to. I actually go the other way. I'm like, that feels not in alignment for me. I'm going to go over here and go hang out with this tree and see if I can see its aura.
Yeah. Which is why we make such a good pair, because I've always been super
Yeah.
on the other end of the spectrum. I mean, I appreciate trees. I talk to them and all that. I love the natural world, but my fascination with the law has always been to never get in a situation where I get screwed over in the necessity of contracts, through life. And a lot of that was sort of data driven, literally like, what is my data being used for? That's why I stayed away from smart devices for so long.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is, okay, if I'm going to have to, navigate through this matrix system, as an entity with a social security number and all that BS and the whole straw man thing and all that, if I have to do it, how can I utilize this to make my life easier, better, and how can I stop the government from taking more
Yeah.
money than they're entitled to legally, right? These are all legal things. If I own businesses, how can I utilize the law to work in my favor and things like that? I've just always loved it.
Yeah. And I'm more like, F the matrix. I'm going to go
Yeah.
live in the woods. I don't even want to play in the system. That's how opposite I
Yeah.
am. It is a fascinating
For
pairing
me,
because I do
it's
feel
kind of like,
I feel very safe because this stuff. It's like, well, if we have, but if you
the
remember
only
when
way
we
out
were
is
talking
in.
about
That's
the
that's
True
kind of how
Sky Crew as a legal entity, I was like, do we really need to do that?
and I'm like, yes, we do.
Sachi's
Like,
like,
let's do
yes,
everything right.
girl.
I'm like, yeah, let's do everything, by the books, because
Can't
we
we all
figured,
just be friends?
and we are. And that's the thing is like, now we're a
That's
legal
such a
friend
Venus and
with
Libra thing where it's like,
the
we can
government.
just agree to get along.
Yeah.
Everything's beautiful and fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
And that's why we
it's
make
all
such a
worked
great
out. It's
team.
all worked
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
It
It all
really
worked
is.
out.
And we make such a great team on the um I don't even want to say opposite ends of the Libra spectrum, but we certainly have super
We have our
strengths.
specialties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we have
have
our
super
specialties.
strengths and things that complement each other. And that's
Yeah.
such a Libra thing. Obviously, the yin yang is on uh the page, and that's what it's all about. Like Janine is
Balance.
so good at all of the aesthetic and the design of everything, and I'm like accounting and legal, and it just really works. Which is
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really funny how it's all clicked together.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
Yes, it
So
is.
let's talk a little bit. I'm sure you guys have already read this, but characteristics of Libra: intellectual, observant, very outwardly observant for sure. Fair,
Mm.
friendly. I might say amicable instead of friendly because it can be. It's usually genuine with a Libra, but a Libra will also be very good at putting on a game face.
That's true. Surface level, getting along.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. Like I know I could change gears when I was teaching writing lessons. I could change gears into teacher mode and then go do something else later. Like I was also a photographer. I would have a different game face as a photographer. And it was just like I just changed gears like that.
Yep.
To, I don't know, engage with that group of people in an appropriate way. So we can read what the other, that's what Libra superpower is like we know what the other person wants, even if the other person doesn't know what they want. And we're just like, okay, I know who you need me to be.
Exactly.
And we can do that.
It's true. And that's part of the observant aspect and the intellectual aspect as well, of like observing the data coming in. Okay, I know that this is how I need to respond appropriately to this situation in order to bring balance to the situation.
Yeah, and it can be a fine
fairness.
It can be a fine dance with, I know what I want to say, but I also know what I should say to get the thing that I want out of this. And Libra's, I guess, task is to not lie about the thing, but use their wordsmithing to say something that's authentic and also helps them get where they need to go without straight out lying about stuff. Like I have done that on job interviews where I'm like, I know what this person wants to hear. Do I say what I really want to say, or how do I craft this sentence to not be a lie, but also, you know, be true to myself? So
sneaky poetry. Yeah.
That's
totally a Libra thing of being able to craft words in a way where it's not false and it might be true. It's very interesting. They're able to keep the throat chakra integrity
limber
with their way of words. Yes, definitely. And
it's
again,
like the Zen monk.
That legal stuff.
Yeah, it's like the Zen monk that's like, sometimes you answer a question with a question because you know they don't really want to hear the answer, but you have to respond. So it can also be that too. Like when you get good at it, you just you don't really deflect anymore. You just be like, oh, and why would you want to do that? Or, you know, whatever, instead of getting, I don't know. I feel like sometimes defensiveness kicks in with Libras too. Like you feel like you need to defend your point of view.
For sure. Yeah. It feels like you're on trial sometimes.
Yeah. 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 And that is where the decisiveness comes in with the sort of mental and linguistic gymnastics. Like you make real quick choices on what words you're going to let come out of your mouth because you know words accrue karma if you're sort of bending things to the outcome you want to see. And you're like, when Libras get really good, it's like you say the thing that's in alignment and it's also the truth, because you're no longer in situations that make you feel like you need to do that kind of people pleasing, which is the shadow aspect, is like, you know, it's what the person wants to hear. And you're no longer attracting those situations, or you've learned how to manage your own energy. And it's like, so what if they don't like me because I say that?
Exactly.
So what?
Exactly.
Just say the thing, right? So as they get more mature, they get better at holding their own vibe and just being who they are instead of who they think everybody wants them to be. Exactly. There's some really deep humiliation wounding with Libras. Like that is kind of what they're here as a core wound to resolve, is like humiliation wounding, which can be like guilt and shame. They're guilted for being, or they're shamed for being who they are, or it could be a karmic lifetime where that has happened, or they're guilted like the thing you've done is bad, or it's deemed to be bad. And then that's where the defensiveness comes in. So at a really deep sea level, Libras are really resolving that and managing their energy to speak authentically, like express themselves authentically, is really a big goal for them. So
yeah, totally tracks true. And if we think about the Libra and Aries axis and that polarity, since Aries rules your instincts, that's how it ties into this decision factors. So Libra is the one making the decisions that plays into the energetic overlay of what your instinctual behavior is. And Aries. And that also ties into Aries ruling the auric body And Libra is both your masculine and feminine energy. So what you are electromagnetically bringing to you or materializing can be readjusted in Libra. And so the manifestation of it is Aries, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Of like who you are as an energetic being.
Yeah. So some of the shadows are people pleasing, which stems from humiliation winning, being judgmental, like being that super judgy friend that's always a Debbie Downer, always picking on everybody. They can be super flaky, very superficial, like Regina George, superficial, and super gossipy if you're not careful.
Yep.
It can be a phase. We all go through those phases. So check to see if you have any planets cruising through Libra in your natal chart. And each different planet kind of holds a different frequency of what you're tuning, but that can be some of the shadow that you're moving through if you have placements in Libra. Let's see. We do have a question.
Oh, yeah.
I was a tropical Libra stellium. I have Pluto in true sky Libra, 11th house. Oh, so that's kind of an interesting collective Libra Pluto energy. Pluto Libra energy. One would appreciate intellectual insights. Well, we got those, girl. 11th house, Pluto in Libra.
Pluto, Libra.
My brain always goes to you're creating balance with collective templates. Like you would probably definitely be a timeline worker and somehow tied into the collective. So that would be the 12th house for you in your system, right, Sachi?
Yes.
Or let's see if she was. I'm pretty sure
12,
she was.
Yeah,
12th house
or
system.
13th house system. So she's asking.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Oh.
No,
okay,
I'm here. I'm thinking.
Yeah, so for on like my end, Pluto Libra, if it's in the 12th, which would be tropical 11th house, for me it would be on a large scale, like understanding the cycles and death and rebirth of various legal things, or mediation things, karmic balance for a certain like class consciousness or group, or even cycles of justice when it comes to like science and tech things during your lifetime as well. It can also be like helping transform standards of beauty for a certain group. The 12th house and the 13th house system would be groups of 3 or more. So that can be, your community or any group that you're a part of. It could be a certain class consciousness that you're a part of as well.
Yeah, Pluto is such a sort of generational energy anyway. It can be very, man, that's a deep, challenging placement for Pluto to be. It can be some really, really deep-seated humiliation winning stuff. The way I'm seeing it. 11th house is like it's tied into a collective consciousness somehow, whether there's like you lived in a village where you were sort of ostracized, or I don't know, it's bigger than that with if it's 11th house in the 12th house system, because that's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah, it definitely can be some big injustice wounding by particular groups.
Yeah,
for sure.
You
Especially
have
with
a
Pluto,
huge.
it can be like taboo stuff or sexual things.
It could be really ancient records too, because I'm thinking of like that sort of librarian Akashic aspect with some Libra energy. But somehow tied into a collective or group. But you have a huge opportunity because Libra is here. You're here to create balance with your Pluto energy, basically. So whatever Pluto is holding for you, like look at if it's aspecting other planets, that kind of stuff. Whatever is really deeply subconscious, Pluto's kind of like the guy who gives you your galactic passport. Like, oh, now you can come and go through the in and out of the solar system and astral travel and do that stuff. So whatever it is, you've also got to clear through some kind of collective stuff. It feels like, I don't know if you get into Ascension glossary, but it feels like miasmatic, like a really big entangled, stuck emotional thing that is connected to a collective. Like, say, an example would be like some sort of false flag event creates a collective miasma, right? Something that happened to a large group of people in an area type thing. It could be bigger or more metaphysical than that too. That's a really intense placement. I think Pluto and Libra generation is really working on reconciling some deep old stuck stuff.
Oh yeah. That is true.
So yeah, see if there's any planets either really close to it or what your aspects to other planets are. That'll give you a good hint. Are they trines? Are they squares? Like, what else is going on there that'll help let you know how hard or easy it will be.
Mm-hmm. And especially coming from a tropical Libra stellium. So because you're true sky, Pluto, Libra, it's like everything that you learned from being tropical Libra, boom, now you're meant to, go through a death and rebirth through the Plutonic forces and cause transformation for a particular group of people, some sort of consciousness.
At the deepest areas of your psyche too. Like the amount of change and balance you can bring is massive. So definitely a timeline worker, I would say. Girl, that's powerful placement. Yes, okay, we're getting a bunch of questions now. Let's get through the rest of the slides and then we'll do the rest of these questions. Otherwise, we'll get totally sidetracked.
Sounds good.
Lever things.
Yes, we could cluck all day, as I like to say.
We sure could.
All right. You want to do constellation or fixed star?
Do whatever's next. They're all sort of independent. They function independently.
Okay. This. Yes. Okay.
Okay, constellation entry and exit dates. So if you remember from the Virgo episode, Sun travels through the Virgo Libra void from November 2nd to the 7th. I'll give you, there we go. And then that's about 4.5 days. And then is in True Sky Libra for a grand total of 14 days from the 7th of November to the 21st. So True Sky Libra season is all contained within November, within 2 weeks in November. And then the Sun travels through the Libra and Scofucus void because it's really kind of, the Sun enters the cusps of both Scorpio and Fucus on the same day. So it's kind of it's a tri-blended void area. About 3.5 days in that void space, and that is from the 21st of November to the 24th. So enters Scorpio Fucus blended energy on the 24th. So all of that in the month of November.
That's right.
Yes.
And then let me pull up the fixed star.
Maybe I should do a slide with like the entry and exit stars too. That's a good idea.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'll add one for the next one. Okay. Are we doing fixed stars?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, okay, here we go.
Here we go. All right, significant fixed star alignments. The first one, Alphecca, is technically in the Virgo Libra void. So the Sun hasn't officially crossed that first star that's in alignment with the Sun. But that's such a significant star for me because Corona Borealis is the northern crown. It sits on top of Serpent's head, the snake that Ophiuchus holds. So I feel like it's very significant.
I definitely
And from Alphecca
There
to
we go.
Zubin el-Janubi, which is the first star in Libra, I feel like this is a little 3-degree window that's like, I call it the Royal Venusian window, where it just designates council members, like, I don't want to say royal lineages, but that phrase is used. But when you understand what royal lineages really are, it doesn't mean they rule over people. It's more like a council. It's like a collaborative group. They make decisions on things, that kind of thing. So I feel like that's a significant little window from the 4th to the 6th. As the sun crosses Zubin el-Janubi, it officially enters Libra. And I just love the Zubins, so bear with me. I put them all in here just for giggles. Zubin el-Shamali is the fulcrum star there at the top. So that's a pretty significant one. If you have alignments with Zubin el-Shamali, it's like, oh yeah, girl, you here to do all the balance. It's like you are the fulcrum point, you are the still point. So that's a powerful placement. And then the next star is that's on the 10th, of November. Oh. And then the sun crosses Anuculi and Serpens, which is the serpent that Ophiuchus holds on the 13th. Interesting day, divine feminine day there with that serpent energy. There he is. And I believe that's the alpha star in Serpent's caput. In the serpent's head, part of the constellation. Serpens is actually 2 separate constellations, the head and the tail. So this is the head side. And then on the 15th, sun aligns with Hadar. Or I think that's Beta Centauri. If your sky app doesn't show Hadar, it's Beta Centauri. There it is, Hadar in the Centaur. And then the third Zubin star, Zubin Elecrab, which is the other scale, basically denoting the other scale.
Oh, sorry, not that one. This one.
Yeah.
Elecrab.
Elecrab. And that's on the 16th. So technically my sun is aligned with that star. That's my birthday. And then Rigel Kent, which is the alpha star, it's Alpha Centauri. Everybody's, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but there was a movie when I was a kid that was all talking about Alpha Centauri. And then, 5 years ago when I start getting into fixed stars, I'm like, oh my gosh, Alpha Centauri is a real thing. How funny. I need to go back and watch that movie and see if I get any of the references now. So Rigel Kent or Alpha Centauri, what day is that? If you can click back on the other. Yeah. Okay, on the 20th. Yeah, right before sun exits Libra. So it's like the day before sun exits Libra. It aligns. And I feel like this star is kind of like a gatekeeper into the Scorpio Ophiuchus Libra void, like the void gatekeeper, because that is a big Mama Jama star. And I don't think that Hadar and Alpha Centauri get nearly enough press. They don't get talked about enough, but it is definitely, those are 2 really massive stars. So the Centaur doesn't have the easiest energy to work with. I don't know. Hadar, I think there's 2. Which one was it? There's one of them that has 2 systems in it, because I have come across people who have talked about Apollonian star seeds. It might be Alpha Centauri that has it, but there's Alpha Centaurians, and then I think Apollonians come in the same alignment, and the Apollonians are a completely different vibe from Alpha Centaurians. Mm-hmm. Alpha Centauri star seeds are like kind of like the quintessential Libra energy, like the marriage of yin and yang. Like they are here to get the job done, and they're very balanced and dedicated to creating that balance. And then the Apollonians are more like, they have more of like this Grecian, god or goddess vibe, like very regal, very beautiful, much more, I don't know, maybe go with the flow kind of energy. It's interesting, but that's just something to note for that star alignment, is like there's actually 2 different star seeds that come from that Stargate. So yeah, cool stuff. So I feel like the Alpha Centaurians are really the ones that are like, are you sure you're ready to go into this void space? Because what's coming up on the other side is going to kick your butt potentially.
Oh, yeah,
get ready.
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what we got going on with that. That's the end of our slides, isn't it? No, yeah, that's it. I think that's it. It's like, wait, no. Feels like I did a whole lot more.
Let me just double check.
I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. Should be like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a quick reference to the fixed stars in there. Of course, we'll have other episodes where we go more in depth on those fixed stars. Can you see the chat? Maybe you can read the questions because the font on this phone is teeny tiny.
Let's see. I've got a question. I've got Libra in the 13th house. What would you say are the main themes of it? That's from Junie Pepper. So Libra ruling over the 13th house, I would say definitely a very beautiful imagination and beautiful dreamscapes as well. Probably a lot of symbols and imagery that come through very clear in the astrals. There's probably a lot of record keeping of the otherworldly and other dimensional, since the 13th house is the house of basically the gates to all dimensions. So a lot of, library keeping of tons of stuff. And I would say on a more personal level, definitely embodying justice and balance for the collective consciousness. So not class consciousness, as I've mentioned before, which would be 12th house in this system, or 11th house in tropical, or like not tropical, sorry, regular 12th house system. That would be like just for a particular group, a particular consciousness, a group consciousness. But the 13th house is the collective consciousness. So that is all of humanity, all other creatures here, all creatures everywhere. All things.
Yeah, it's
all with a capital A. Yeah.
Transcendent consciousness.
So justice and balance on the largest scale that you could imagine.
Yeah. That's some big interesting Libra energy in that last house. Definitely, I agree with what you said about like probably a gatekeeper to that transcendent consciousness, like the Akashic librarian type energy. But you also have to create balance to access it, because it's that house, whether it's the 12th or the 13th, whatever system you're looking at. It's sort of like the unconscious realm or the subconscious realm. So it's like you've got to create that balance, the inner balance, that it's the inner balance that connects you to everything beyond, right? Everything transcendent. And that's a big ask. It's like create balance with your psyche, your consciousness, not so much the psyche like the personality lens, but like the subconscious, like all that is. Create balance with all that is. And yeah, definitely probably some interesting dreams. You can probably do a lot of the work in dreams. Like you can probably do a lot of the Akashic balancing, or the stuff will probably just naturally come up through the dream state. That's fascinating. And as you sort of matriculate out of, okay, I'm doing karmic balancing on autopilot in my subconscious in my dreams, you'll probably become more aware that it's like, oh, I'm actually making sure that this portal is safe, coming and going in and out of the ethers, that kind of thing.
Totally. And you also, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking like you probably become a guardian or gatekeeper, or it could also just be helping others create that balance. Like sometimes Libra can really be like, I work with others in these subconscious ways well, I should phrase it differently. Like, you probably can connect with other people in subconscious ways, but you could also maybe assist them in doing that work. Although I feel like Libra's energy is better spent teaching people how to do it versus one-on-one stuff. That may be the way you get started, is like working one-on-one with like dream work, right? Helping somebody with dream work, or getting help from someone with dream work, or just the psychic things in general. But then maybe teaching about it. Like, that's a form of, I don't like the word gatekeeping, but it's a form of informationally assisting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could go in a lot of different directions with that. It's a fascinating placement for Libra to be.
It is. I would also say that on a personal level, when it comes to your one-on-one relationships, a lot of them can be Piscean. So a lot of people that may be materialized in your life have a lot of lessons to do with delusion, illusion. There can be some, on the shadow aspect, drug addicts, people who have heavy escapist behavior. On the light side, it can be people who are the dreamers, the artists, the psychics, the intuitives, people with that are hypersensitive or who can access other dimensions and things like that. People who have very vivid imaginations and just sort of the hive
Spiritual
mind. Yeah, very
warriors. Yeah,
spiritual
spiritual
aspect.
warrior type
Yeah.
energy. It's like metaphysical kung fu masters. Very metaphysical. I would say, yeah,
Yeah.
very metaphysical. And once you get a handle on how you're creating balance through that, like, you're no longer moving through the delusion phase of like that sort of 13th house. It's not swallowing you up anymore. You're managing your field better. You become probably adept at astral traveling. And it could even be like on some of the really cool high vibe stuff is like meeting up with other people via subconscious or metaphysical routes. Like, hey, let's go have a lucid dream meetup. Let's go work in the astral. Let's go over here and astral travel to this star system and do some work on this, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. But I do get a real spiritual warrior, like when you learn how to manage your energy, for sure. Create balance with them.
Yeah, a lot of spiritual relationships, probably a lot of romantic partners that are from past lives as well. So that can be good and bad.
If you've got
So
some karma
beware
to
of that
clean up,
karmic.
yeah. They
And
may show
again,
up for that. Yeah.
I always like to remind people, just because you knew someone in a past life doesn't mean it's good to know them in this life.
Yeah,
your enemy on the battlefield is also a past life relationship.
You may be here to calibrate that boundary. That may be why they're showing
like,
up.
don't ever find me again. Like, stay away from me. Karma cleared. High
or
cut.
if it becomes like a relationship, like if you're already in that relationship, it can be how to amicably part. Like, that's also karma clearing, is like, I recognize this as a pattern and I'm going to address this differently this time, like with this person, that kind of thing. And just make it an amicable split as much as possible. And that's such a Libra thing, right?
Yeah.
It can be, I'm busting out the sword because this is a hell no, you tried this in the last life and we're not doing this. Show me the record on that. Let's rewrite the contract. I want to renegotiate that contract. Or it could be literally to walk the amicable split part of it too. Like, that's also an option. If you address the energetic, that's always the most efficient way. But your higher self may not let you do that if there's lessons to be learned through walking the karmic path. So it's also something to think about. But yeah, definitely people can show up like that.
Melody says, okay, thanks. Connecting the dots. I have a conjunction 11th Pluto to my second house Saturn to my 8th house Venus Chiron. Okay. And then later she says, excuse me, not conjunction. It's a trine. Okay. So yeah, that's an amazing trine for sure, especially when it comes to being materially provided for when you do your shadow work and having really great love, healing love relationships and healing through love. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Okay. Pluto trine Saturn. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
trine Venus and
11th
Chiron.
house Pluto
Trine
trine
second house Saturn.
second house Saturn.
Trine eighth house Venus Chiron.
So it's a grand trine.
That is a powerful.
Or is it something conjunct? I would have to see it on a chart. You know me. It's like
Well, she did, but excuse me, not conjunct. There's a triangle. So
it's
yeah, that's grand trine. I don't know. Yeah, we'd have to see your chart to know for sure. But energetically picking up on what you wrote, that is super, super powerful.
yeah, I mean, Pluto and Saturn are both karmic. So
Yeah.
if Pluto is
And
trine
trine to the eighth
Saturn, you
house,
have a
Venus
big
and Chiron.
opportunity to resolve karma for sure. Saturn in the second house is like, God, that's like a manifestation machine right there.
Yeah. You got the material down pat. Yeah, you're good. That's like
And if
gold,
it's out of
energy.
alignment though, like because Saturn can be karmic,
That can be
it's out of
left,
alignment, it is going to show up in. It's going to like walk right in front of you and slap you in the face, be like, "I'm here,
yeah,
deal with me."
That's why it's trying that eighth house Venus and Chiron conjunction, because all that shadow work and the gunk that you have to go through is all healing the access to the vibration of love, which is basically the same as the access to abundance. Love and abundance, they resonate on the same frequency through the heart chakra.
Venus conjunct Chiron in the eighth house.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, that feels like a lot.
Yeah. That
you
feels
think so?
like
I
you
would have
probably
to
had
see it.
some shitty love relationships, but they keep getting better and better. That's how I would take that. Eighth house, anything is not easy, but Chiron and Venus in there, woo.
Yeah, I can see eighth house Venus Chiron. I can see that in because Chiron tends to be soul wounds. It could be like I expect because eighth house can be other people's stuff. Is like I expect other people's stuff to support me, or
Other
there's
stuff to help through that journey.
I would have to see it before I can speak on it because that feels like, I mean,
something...
Pluto, Saturn, and Chiron. That's a lot.
Yeah, this would be something definitely to get a session, like deep diving into that. And we've also discussed maybe even doing in the future when we're done with all the journal stuff.
One day.
One day we plan on doing people can send us their charts and we'll do, a little thing live and have some fun with it.
Yeah, in our group chat, within our group chat. Right?
Yeah.
Or are we doing a live?
Yes.
Or are we doing a live episode?
I don't know, but we haven't really discussed the final version of it. But just putting that out there for everyone that you may have some opportunities to kind of do a group analysis that way.
Yeah, be fun. I think we have more questions.
Yes, we do. As far as researching signs, do y'all look up true sky descriptions of each sign? So do you search true sky Taurus? Or do you just look at the overall description of Taurus? So you can search True Sky Taurus. You'll most likely get our stuff. Maybe a couple other people who do True Sky, Real Sky Astrology. But it's more, you can look up general energy of that sign. The thing is, when you look at tropical data, it's going to be more low vibey, right? So if you just type in Taurus, you'll probably get like glutton, slow, this, that, but good with the material world. Whereas when you're looking at information from a source like us, for example, it's going to be much more detail, much more depth. But a lot of the information that we're sharing just isn't really out there because people are just finally reawakening to true sky astrology on a grander scale. And we're doing that work to make this information accessible.
I feel like if you're decisive enough, like if you understand each archetype has polarities, like it'll have a high vibe, it'll have a low vibe, and you're good at categorizing information, yes, you can totally look up like just Taurus and you can get an overview of the energy. There is stuff, you know, specific to us that we talk about because we have different experiences through how we've learned how to do this, and you know, just learning stuff on the way. Yeah, like dreams have taught me a lot about the archetypes,
revelations,
so
divine information being sent
yeah,
to us.
we'll talk about stuff slightly differently. But I feel like if you're good at doing like information reconnaissance, you can look up regular astrology signs. You're not going to get, here's when the sun is actually in this constellation. You're not going to get, Taurus is actually the first true zodiac sign. You're not going to get the Cetus, Aries, void, and the different understanding because tropical, right? Except from us, because tropical astrology doesn't acknowledge. It acknowledges Aries as a zodiac sign when Aries technically doesn't cross the ecliptic. So we have addressed certain issues with tropical astrology that just, and we're going to have a whole episode on a tropical astrology breakdown at some point. Probably once we get through the true sky zodiac stuff.
Yes.
And we're just going to put that, like, just lay it all to rest at some point and be like, here's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So I would say you could just look, you know, do Google search for stuff. If you understand, you're going to get just the general consensus information. And they're not going to apply it to the true sky dates, that kind of stuff. But the archetypes are generally the same.
They are.
You know, Taurus is still Taurus. Libra is still Libra. We just have an extended understanding of it because of, I mean, things that we've done
who
over
we
the
are
years.
and what we're supposed to be doing for the
what
we're
here to do. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing about utilizing the real sky for your astrology is it shifts your timeline of understanding who you are and connecting with the organic celestial bodies rather than working on a man-made repeating algorithm that does not align with the celestial siblings above. So it's not that it's different information, but the information is expressed differently through you when you embody your true sky chart.
Yeah, she says she switched to True Sky about a year ago and she's trying to deepen her knowledge. Yeah, there's certain archetypes nobody's going to talk about. Nobody's going to talk about Cetus. You can go do independent research on that. We did the Aries Cetus episode and you get a pretty decent amount of info on that. Nobody's going to talk about Ophiuchus. I mean, more people are talking about Ophiuchus.
More people talk about Ophiuchus for sure.
Yeah. As far as books go, I don't per se know a specific true sky book. Maybe that needs to go on our project list.
It certainly does.
That's kind of why we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, because we
both like to talk.
It's true. And we can get information out. Boom, it's done. You know, it may not be free, perfect or worded the way that maybe it could be, but exactly, it gets out.
It's free. It's there as a resource.
Exactly.
I can tell you probably my favorite book, and it is a tropical book. It is not going to talk about 13 houses. It's not going to talk about 13 signs. It's going to talk about standard issue zodiac, but my favorite book is called The Inner Sky. Obviously, that's where my handle came from. His name is Stephen Forrest, and I think he has a really good grasp on the 12 sign zodiac. He's been an astrologer for a long time, and it's really easy to read, easy to understand, and it covers most of the bases. So that's my recommendation. I don't know if you have anything you would like to share.
Yeah, I do not want to recommend any tropical books, and those are the only ones that I know at this time. So
yeah.
I'll
make a link to that one if anybody wants to check that out.
But when we create our books, then we will have some.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I think he goes into, I think he's an evolutionary astrologer, so it's definitely more of a psychological read on the archetypes, and I really appreciated that. And he gets into shadow aspects versus like the higher octave of the archetypes. So that was very helpful when I read that. And honestly, I do have some astrology books from a Vedic guy, but I didn't read them because it was too confusing. I started and I was like, all right, just whatever. No, too many things.
I read a couple. I had to make flashcards so that I could understand it. Because a lot of the nomenclature just is, if you don't know it, it's just gobbledygook. So there's a lot of like understudying that has to happen before you can read the Vedic books. But I did because I studied it and also was like, this, no.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of great information that I've taken from it, but
yeah,
it's a system that is.
I learned a lot from his YouTube account. That's how I found that guy. He's that it's got 3 initials. LRS? I don't know. It's got 3 initials. And I think Saturn is like his logo.
Oh wow, yeah.
I know. I was like, oh geez. But he did a lot of videos when he was younger. And I learned a lot from watching his videos. So you can find a lot of info on YouTube. And just be discerning. Make notes. Plan on compiling a list or whatever, if that's what you want to do.
Just ask your own soul, like, how do I feel about this info? Is it for me or not? And again, that may even change over time. And that's okay. That's part of being a human and learning and growing.
Yes, indeedy.
We have another question from Junie Pepper that says, what do you think the main difference is between a Virgo Libra void versus a Libra Scorpio one? Or Libra Scorpio, we should say.
Those are like
big differences.
Light years apart.
Exactly. And it's literally light versus shadow, I would say, because the Virgo Libra void is like what needs to change and why. And most of it is to make it more quote unquote heavenly, right? Because Virgo is how we anchor high vibrational light and access utopian timelines. And so the whole notion of Virgo sort of as a system management expert of seeing the big picture and also looking into the detail of like red penning things, right? This is wrong. It needs to be this way. And Libra is that adjustment, right? Of like, oh, okay, this is the red pen. Libra like takes that draft of information and then makes the adjustment to give it back to Virgo energy and be like, okay, now that we've adjusted our scales, so to speak, now we can access these high vibrational timelines.
Yeah.
Whereas the Scorpius Libra or Libra Scorpius void is like, if things are out of whack with Libra, and again, for me, Libra, a lot of it is the lightheartedness. It's like, how do you stay balanced so that your aura is light, so that you're not carrying around tons of baggage? But if you need to go deep into something, the Libra Scorpius vibe is like, all right, it's time to do some shadow work. It's time to go into the depths. You cannot just stay on the surface and just get the information on this. You have to do the deep dive. And so it's literally the light and the shadow. One is to access more light and the other is to do more of your shadow work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's angelic templates. Like this is how I see the progression. Virgo's like the angelic templates and the Virgo Libra void is right. Exactly. Like you said, like how can we do the thing more in alignment, create more balance? Then in Libra energy, you're like, okay, I'm now doing the balance work. And it's like this calibrating moment before you go into the Libra Scorpio Fucus void. Once you pop into that void, it's like, okay, you're there, you've got more discernment, you're holding your vibe better, and now we're going to dive into the shadow. So all of Libra is like this recalibration moment where you're learning how to hold your energy better. You're learning boundaries. Like there's so many boundary lessons with Libra. And then you go into the void with your new sword, right? You're like, my sword's all sharp and shiny now. Let's go cut some cords. Let's go into that shadow and take care of some business. Where you go into the next layer. It's like, and now we dive in again, right? We've reached a peak where I can hold my energy and now we dive in again.
Exactly.
So it's really like this moment where you're just like, oh, everything's humming. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to put you to the test. Can you hold your vibe as you go into the shadow pocket? So that's the challenge.
Yeah, and when we were talking about our Virgo episode of the upward spiral, which can also be downward spiral if you're, working on some ish, but if you think about the angelic templates and accessing these utopian timelines of Virgo energy, and then if you think of Libra as the scales of the Egyptian mythology of like, okay, when you pass away or you transition, your heart gets weighed against a feather on the scales. And it's like, if your heart is not light, then you have to go to the underworld, right? But if it's as light as a feather, then you get to ascend. And so that's kind of not necessarily that you have to, that you have to die or anything in order for this to happen, but it's kind of like, okay, is this experience that you've experienced, is it weighing your heart down, right? Is it causing your aura to be dense where it needs to be light and you need to let things go? If you do hold on to those things, again, that's when you have to go into that Scorpius deep dive. That's when you have to go to the underworld. But if you are as light as a feather, then that's that upward spiral in Virgo.
Yeah. Literally, Libra is heart-brain coherence.
Yeah.
That's why is your heart as light as a feather. Like it's literally like the heart with wings. That's a perfect Libra visual.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
Because the natural thing that will happen when the heart and the mind are coherent in coherent resonance is your field calibrates. You just levitate through the dimensions. It's not it's just it's a byproduct of being in alignment. So that's why that symbolism is so appropriate with the heart on one side of the scale and the brain on the other. Because it's about both being equal, right? Bringing that field into coherent resonance. Because your heart gives off a bigger energetic biofield than anything in your body. It has more electromagnetism than your brain by far.
Sure.
So that's your Merkaba right there. That's the core of everything.
And they've done studies which it's scientifically proven that the heart feels before the brain knows.
Exactly. Yep. The heart is technically in the embryonic stage. It is formed of the same, I guess, stem cells as the brain. The gut, the heart, and the brain all come from the same stem cells. When I learned that, I was like, oh gosh, that makes so much sense.
It does make sense.
Now I understand my body better.
Yep.
So if you're trashing your gut, 1/3 of that system is also, well, it's affecting the other 2/3, I guess I should say.
Yep. For sure. Oh, you still there? Oh, Janine? Oh. All right. Well, let me know if you guys can hear me. I think Janine may have Mercury retrograde dropped out. Oh, there she is. Hey, Janine.
Hey, it must have dropped my.
Okay. Yep.
Dropped my
Mercury retrograde things. All good. We had another question. VA says, like, I have a Taurus moon in the 5th. Would I just Google that and discern through the info provided? Yeah, you could, for sure. You could also book a reading with one of us or another trusted True Sky astrologist, and to get more info, but you can certainly Google that yourself and use your discernment.
Yep. Yeah, charts are so interconnected, like it is really hard to look at a planet or a luminary in isolation from the other things it's aspecting. So you could go through one at a time and do independent research on one and learn how to connect the dots. It depends on how well versed you are with the whole system of astrology. Because I mean, that's how I learned. Is first I learned the signs, then I learned the planets, then I learned the houses, then I learned the aspects, and you keep compiling information until it is one gigantic symphony in your head. You take one glance at a chart and you're like, wow. And you see what that person is working on just from literally looking at it for a few minutes.
Exactly.
And then it takes you 2 hours to explain it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, right, you can do the research on your own, or you can hire a professional to sort of compile the data. And that pretty much goes for anything in the world, right? It's like, okay, maybe you want to start a business. Do you want to research it and do it yourself, or you want to, hire someone who can just give you a bulleted list with links of what to do, right? So it really depends on the way that you like to collect your data, which is a very Libran thing. And yeah, cheers to your exploration on that.
Yeah, go for it. Maybe
the more sources, the better.
Yeah, if you really feel called to it, it may be something you're learning that skill set as something that is going to benefit you in the long run. Like maybe you get really good at it. I mean, that's how I started doing this. Is like I got really good at reading my own chart, and I started asking my friends if I could read their chart. I'm like, can I read your chart just so I can see different stuff? And it went from there. And then people started DMing me, and I was like, well, I should just make this a thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I should probably also say that I do have some courses if you're interested. I have Astrology 101, which teaches about the signs, houses, and planets. And it is taught from a tropical perspective of switching into true sky astrology, which is Astrology 201, which goes into true sky astrology. It also goes into how to read different aspects, how to work with like North Node, South Node, how to choose your housing system, and lots more detail. So if you're interested in checking that out, both of them are in my shop.
Yeah, Visa, who asked the question, VA says, I have such a nerdy brain, I need to understand. That could literally be your higher self. Like, yes, start compiling those lists, start learning all that data so you can read stuff on the spot,
Yeah.
It could turn into something that makes you money down the road. Maybe you're going to write a book on it.
Yeah.
If that's the thing you're looking for, it usually has a funny turnaround moment somewhere in your life where you're like, I couldn't find what I was looking for, so I did the thing. That's how we ended up on a podcast. We're like, we really feel like this needs to be talked about. Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Yep. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yep. So yeah, run with it. And if you feel like taking a course would help expedite that, Sachi's courses are awesome.
Thank you.
I feel like maybe we do need to write a book, Sachi. We need to just add that to the list.
Yeah, we will. I mean, we have a lot of data. It's just more compiling it into that form.
Written format.
Yeah. And I have it all in my courses too. So yeah. Well, not all of it, but a decent chunk.
Oh, I love this. Holistic Soul writes, when Sachi was sharing about weighing the heart against the feather, I was seeing and feeling a possible connection with feathermancy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was feeling that as well. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was like, should I say anything? But I don't want to, turn the subject onto feathermancy.
But
so
that's literally like how you said that
Uh-huh.
you have been healing injustice wounding through this portal. It's like you wrote the feathermancy before the portal. That is your memo to yourself. That's like, scales are balanced, sis.
Yeah, and I've been getting so many feather messages almost on a daily basis, some of which I've shared on my Instagram. But for those of you who don't know, I developed I was given the information on how to read feathers. So, reading colored feathers are pretty common, but I have published a book that tells you how to read the color, multicolor, the left side, the right side, any breakages, where you found it, if there's something on it, and different symbolisms that you might see in them, and also different feather patterns that mean the major arcana of the tarot. And since then, I've actually been getting a lot more information sent to me on even more in-depth information. So version 2 will be in the works once we finish our daily planners. But yeah, there's even more to come. But it really has been such a profound experience of creating another new divination modality. So thank you, Holistic Soul. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, the timing is so fascinating to me too. It's like, that's why your higher self was like, nope, you need to do this now. because it's like the message needed to come through for you before the eclipse portal.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you could clear that timeline out. I was like, golly, we're so funny and smart.
Yeah.
At the higher dimensional levels, there's so many funny things.
It's true. And it's interesting. I was working with the Pokemon Altaria and the star Altair, which is the Pluto return star of US, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
And after I had published my book, I was on vacation and a stranger came up to me and gifted me a plushy eagle named Altair. And I just knew. I mean, that's the kind of synchronicity that happens when you're in that kind of alignment. And right, because like I'm getting all this information, I'm told I'm supposed to make this book, even though I'm working on, 4 other projects and trying to get back on Sachi the Seer the way I used to be, or just more consistent, I guess, in a different way. And I'm like, really? I got to write a book, right? I could have ignored it, but I didn't. I wrote it, published it, which is a divination guide. So for people who are like, I don't want to read a book, it's really just info of like, okay, if I have this feather on this page, this is the piece of data I'm looking for. Okay, it's this. That means this. Next page, because it's this color, because it's this number, because it's a symbol, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not really reading heavy. It's just a guide. So like you would take it with you on your walk and ask for a message and then decode it. But anyway, so
that's a fun way to do it is front load it. Be like, okay, universe, is there a feather message today? Go for a walk. I love that.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was gifted that eagle plushie, I was just like, holy moly. Like, look at the way that things are materializing so beautifully.
Look at that Libra superpower coming on.
Exactly.
Like that's a whole nother year.
Altaria or Altair just physically manifested in my hand from a stranger.
Love when that happens.
Yeah. I love healing the receiving aspect of Libra, healing the feminine, because wow, do things just get handed to you.
It gets easier and easier when you're in that flow.
It really does. It really does.
That's the goal, is to model
Venus. Work with Venus.
Well, the goal is to be in alignment, to model the true potential of the archetype, right? To heal the planetary fractal of, in this case, Venus, and to be like, this is what it's supposed to look like, y'all. When it's functioning, when it's on, it's like synchros are instantaneous, feedback is instantaneous, things, you just manifest what's in alignment for you. And every now and then you'll get a bobble and you'll be like, oh, there's a nugget, let's take care of business. And you just go do your Zen master superpowers and go clean out whatever that clunker is, and you're back in the game.
Exactly.
So it depends on how much karma you got in the closet that it keeps you derailed. But yeah, you'll get back in the flow. Once you understand the Libra game, it's really easy to get back in the flow, because you will feel like Venus is so somatic. It's like you'll feel when you get knocked out of the flow. You don't even have to wait for the thing to manifest. You'll be like, oh, I felt it go a little sideways there. And then the thing shows up to confirm it, or vice versa. Oh, I just got more in the flow. Things feel amazing. And then something confirms it, right?
Yeah.
So the outside stuff is just confirmation for Libras. It's really our superpower.
Yep, that's true.
Holistic Soul is another question. I'm curious if there are any visuals on today's presentation that shows Libra in the 13th house system.
Visual.
I mean, we have one slide with the houses, but I mean, it's associated with the 7th house, but Libra in the 13th house is like reading Libra in the 12th house. So in the 12 sign system.
Juna Pepper had asked like what that is. Yeah, we didn't have any visuals on that because it was a listener question. I'm not sure if you mean like kind of like how we do reels of different like pictures or something, kind of imagery that would be associated. I would say very beautiful and dreamy and etheric imagery, but we don't have any visuals that was used on the podcast, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, we just have the infographic stuff. Yeah, so if it's a technical house system question, it's either just imagine it it's either
Just the
13th.
last
It's
house.
always the last house.
It's the
Yeah,
last
it's just the
house,
last
yeah.
house right above the ascendant.
Mhm.
So it's either the
And Libra would
13th
be over
or
it,
the
yeah.
12th. Yeah. If you're working with a 12 house system, it's the 12th house. If you're working, it's just the last house. So it's Piscean type crossover energy,
Mutable
basically.
water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutable water.
Very ethereal, astrally out there, or also subconscious.
Otherworldly
Things. Yeah. Things hidden. Can be things hidden from you.
Yeah.
Shadow pockets. Those kind of metaphysical type stuff. Non-manifested things.
Yeah, non-material.
Yeah. So let us know if that generally answered your question, or if you're looking for something else. Yeah, as far as Libra ruling the 7th house, that's the same in either system, 12th or 13th, just FYI, because the additional house comes with the 9th house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Just as Ophiuchus is the quote unquote added sign, which would be the 9th sign, which pushes Sagittarius to the 10th. It's the same thing with the houses.
Yeah.
So the 9th house is now.
Do you use the 9th house as like Scorpio Fucus blended type?
No, the 8th house is still Scorpius.
Okay.
So that would be the shadows. Death and rebirth, sex, things like that. And then the 9th would be the healing journey, alchemy, herbalism, conspiracy, even. So, and it's transcending the reptilian frequencies of the emanations of Scorpius. So they do 8th and 9th work in conjunction, but they do deserve their own piece of the pie because they are different energies. And I have a whole article about it that we can link in the description below on the 13th house. I explain it. I have visuals of, where it's inserted and why and how, and then what the houses then there are.
Yeah, that would be great to link that. That'd be awesome. We'll add that to the description. That and the astrology book.
Yep, and it is available to the public, so everyone can access that on my website.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Any other questions? I don't see any more questions. That was a great amount of questions. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your questions. You feel like we have said it all. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Libra?
One other thing I would like to say about Libra that I meant to mention a couple different times is because Libra rules one-on-one relationships and the legal system, Libra energy can usually show legal relationships. And the 7th house can point to that as well. So things like marriage, divorce, legal partnerships, business partnerships, and things like that are usually emanations of Libra energy. The assets that you share and things like that are through Scorpius, but the legal contract aspect is a Libran thing. So just something, just another little tidbit.
Yeah, I would agree with that, I guess. I feel like the physical union of partnerships is 8th house things, but I could see how the legal stuff is 7th house things. I feel like it's interpersonal relationships of any kind of one-on-one. Can be like a mentor, or you could be the client. It's just working with other people energetically. How you engage with others outside of yourself. Descendant in a chart's a really interesting place too in a personal chart, I feel like, because it's so tied in with that 7th house cusp. And once I realized, I learned this from doing fixed star stuff, but because the fixed stars are so specific to a point on the chart, is like when people have a fixed star on their descendant, I was like, oh, descendant's just unintegrated ascendant things. It's the you don't even know you are, but it's being reflected in everybody that shows up in your life until you figure out it's you. Because it reads
Yeah.
different when you're reading a
It's
fixed star versus a whole sign, right?
Exactly.
Like,
and if you think of your ascendant as your ascension process, which is the upward spiral, the descendant is the downward spiral.
right. It's the you've kind of dissociated your, maybe dissociated is not the right word, separated yourself from, and it manifests outside of you until you've integrated your descendant thing. And then it's like you kind of full circled ascendant descendant. You become more whole. It's a really, that's an interesting cusp, that seventh house cusp where the descendant is. That's the place to look at for you. And I feel like it gives you a good read on people that gravitate into your life.
Yeah. Oh, Janine, you still there? Well, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I can't. Okay, it looks like Janine dropped off. I do see that we have, oh, Janine's back. Welcome back.
Getting kicked off. Anyway, the descendant's an interesting place.
Yes,
I think I realized the significance of it when somebody that had a Pegasus star on the descendant, and I was like, you just probably have a lot of descendant or a lot of Pegasus people in your friend group, and like you just probably gravitate to people with that lineage and you just don't even know it. But the point is to show you that you have to integrate this Pegasus energy, that kind of thing. It's like, so you're surrounding yourself with it subconsciously until you integrate it yourself. And then it's game on. Then you just fly into your ascendant stuff. It's like, whew, right?
Yep.
So we have another question?
Yeah, we have one more, and I love it. Thank you, Melody, so much. She said, yes, one more question. What is the top 2 favorite pair of shoes that you ladies own?
Gosh, which version of me wants to answer this question?
I love it.
You go first.
Okay, I will go first. My first pair that I love are this pair of Michael Kors. They are a 5-inch heel and stiletto point tip, and the heel is metallic silver, so it's like a mirror, and then the pointed tip is some sort of fabric that kind of looks like really short hair, and it's black and white checkered, and then it has a like a thick ankle buckle that's black and silver, and they are just so sharp and sexy, and I've dominated so many corporate rooms in those.
Command the room from your shoes.
Yeah, literally. And they are just so sexy. And then my current favorite pair to wear now are these almost neon kind of pink, like Barbie shoes is what I call them. They are snake skin with iridescent, super like hot pink on top. And those also always get looks and compliments and things like that. And I guess I also got to say, I love my black thigh high, like heels.
That's so Sachi.
Yeah. Most of my shoes are pointed toe and spiked heel, usually between like 4 and 6 inches. So
get it, girl.
Yeah.
I went through a phase for a solid 4 years where it was like, that was me too. I was into all the really cute high heel shoes. I have quite a collection. I would have a hard time picking one pair. I haven't worn them in a long time, but I would say my favorite place I love any kind of weird, quirky heel. It doesn't necessarily have to be like super sexy stiletto. But my favorite place to get them was J. Crew, because they always had the weird, quirky colors and materials. And I got a lot of fun velvet shoes from J. Crew. Those are fun. But currently, I'd say I'm into like funky tennis shoes. I still like anything funky, weird color. I'm really into weird color combos. So any kind of weird color combo, usually New Balance makes my favorites. And because now I work on a horse farm, y'all. I don't wear high heels to work.
Yeah.
I wear boots. So
yeah, I just wear them when I go out, but I guess I gotta do special mention for the Pokemon Crocs. I also have a Pokemon shoe collection that is growing, and most of them are like tennis shoes and casual wear.
Yeah.
So if I'm not wearing like my spiked heels and pointed toes, it's a Pokemon shoe. So there's really no in between.
Everlane makes some really sweet modern loafers that are just beautiful to wear. I was into loafers for a while too, like any kind of weird nerdy loafer. I have to say Everlanes were probably they were so sleek and sweet and classic, like you could wear them with anything, but they would have weird funky patterns like purple, or maybe that was J. Crew. There was a pair of gray crocodile print loafers from Everlane that I was like, oh, I love you. Come to mommy.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yes. So fun. I'm sitting here staring at the wall of shoe storage right now, thinking I need to put a lot of them on eBay. So that might have to happen, but I won't ever sell my tennis shoes. I'll just wear those because they're comfy. That would be a good project to do these Virgo full moons, is go through the shoe collection and send some to new homes.
Yeah.
Find adoptive homes for some of them because they're all pretty much brand new. Yes, the shoe collection. Sachi, if we ever got together and like went through our shoe collections, oh my gosh,
that could be a different podcast.
That would be like a week. Yeah, maybe that would be a fun one. Like, welcome to our shoe collections.
Welcome to the True Sky 2 shoes.
We'd be online for like weeks.
We would, yeah.
It'd be a long podcast.
I just donated like so many pairs of shoes. I was meaning to put them on eBay, but I'm like, I just didn't have the patience. I'm like, I know everything will come back to me. So I've been offloading a lot of stuff lately, creating a void in order to receive, as I like to say.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, new things have been coming to me. So
yeah, eBay's definitely on the docket. I did some spring cleaning this week, and I did pull out some shoe bins, so it's in the works. But then I started looking through them. I'm like, I can't sell this pair. I can't sell that. And I'm like, stop it. Just sell them. If they have a heel, just sell them. You're not going to wear them again. But some of them are so dang cute. It's so hard.
Well,
it's like, what if I go to a wedding or,
That's true. I mean, you could keep like, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 10. I don't know. What size shoe are you?
Depends. Heels, 6 to 6.5 in any kind of heel.
Cute.
Little feet.
Yeah.
Tennis shoes, comfortably a 7 if I wear socks. So yeah, if I get a stiletto, I have to get a 6.
Wow, nice.
I got baby feet.
That's awesome. I remember when
you can find some good deals on some sweet shoes because not many people can wear 6s. So it was helpful to get good deals. So cute. Yes.
Thank you so much for that question.
Cool. Yeah, that was such a fun question.
We both really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Our Libra selves are like, let us tell you all about it. 2 hours later.
Yeah.
Good times. All right. Any other questions, comments? Yes, made me so happy to hear this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Libra Queens. You're welcome.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes. Thank you so much.
That fun question. All right. Any closing remarks? You feel like
I feel good.
covered the Libra spectrum? Cool.
I think so.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us who are in the live chat. We really appreciate you being here live. And thanks to everybody who listened on the replay. We're glad you're here too. Are we going to do an episode in 3 weeks this time? I think we agreed on 3 weeks.
Yes,
yeah,
we did.
We're going to do our next episode in 3 weeks on April 25th. And that will be the May transits. So that will still, we'll still have a few days in April. We will get it in, or it'll be in April 25th for the May transit. Sorry, brain.
April 25th.
Mercury retrograde things. Yes. it will still be in April, so you get your May transits before May, that kind of thing. That's what my brain was thinking. Didn't come out of my mouth the same way. And we are the True Sky Crew. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram at the True Sky Crew. Sachi, would you like to share where you can be found?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Sachi the Seer. That was previously Sachi the Scorpio. And you can also find all of my stuff on my website, sachitheseer.com. That's where you can find all the True Sky astrology tools. You can also find the Feathermancy book that we mentioned, also find the Astrology 101 and 201 courses, and also Tarot 101 if you're interested in learning how to read tarot. And I have recently also opened my books. So if you're interested in getting an astrology reading or a tarot and Pokemoncy reading, those are open. I also have my one-on-one spiritual mentorship program open as well, where you can do, we chit chat, we can do astrology and card reading, whatever it needs to be in order to sort of, if you need to spitfire some questions and go through a lot in a certain amount of time, that would be what I would recommend. So go ahead and check out my offerings on my website. And if you feel called, I would love to work with you.
Yeah, go get you a session and a course on True Sky Astrology.
Mm-hmm.
My books are closed. That's it. I'm busy on like 500 other projects. So for now, my books are closed. And you can find anything I have to share. I will be sharing on Instagram. So find me there. Follow us at the True Sky Crew. Most of my astrology content comes through there now. And I'll keep you updated on that as things change. As we finish the daily planner, eventually things will open back up. So if you guys have any questions, you can DM me on the Insta. So thank you guys once again for joining in. Until the next episode, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the sky, because the true sky don't lie. Night, everyone.